Da-da-da.
Hey, wait a second.
Only seemed like an appropriate soundtrack to today's quick live hangout. One of my all-time favorite bands, the Jesus Lizard. Many years ago, there used to be a record convention that was here, and there was a lot of really great people selling records. One of them, I think, was called True North. And they always had some amazing 7-inches. And this is one that I got from them. A bootleg, kind of a semi-official bootleg, recorded live at Bogart's on June 20th, 1992. Then comes Dudley, Mouth Breather, and then a couple of songs on the back called Old Jane's Addiction Song and Wait a Second, which is what we're hearing right now. Which is, of course, Boilermaker. 955 out of 1,000. It's one of my most played records that I have in my collection. I absolutely love the Jesus Lizard. And this is... Jesus Lizard albums are fantastic, but Jesus Lizard live albums are even more epic than you could possibly imagine if you're into that sort of thing. Cheers, by the way. Cheers.
There is someone waiting who will hurry up and rescue you. Just call
the Super Chicken.
Then if you're afraid, you'll have to overlook it. Besides, you knew the towers they used when you took it. He will drink your super sauce and throw the badness for a loss, and he will bring the kid alive and kicking. There is one thing you should learn, but there is no one else who
Just call the Super Chicken.
The Super Chicken.
For some reason, that's on the end of it, and I don't know why. But let's, before we start chatting together, let's listen to, see if I can line up one of my favorite Jesus Lizard songs, Mouth Breather. Let's just take a moment, pour yourself a drink. We'll just listen. It probably sounds like absolute shit coming through your speakers, but here we are anyway. So let's take a moment and enjoy this together. Hey, Blackpool, how are you? Probably one of the best rhythm sections ever. The bass player, whose name I'm blanking on, of course, right now, David Yao is the singer. The bass player is unbelievable. One of my favorite bass players of all times. I play bass myself and have in some bands and throughout my life since I was like kind of 16, 17, 18 or whatever. And they are such a tight rhythm section that it boggles my mind. And his bass tone, like the sound of his bass, is just beautiful. Really, really great stuff. Haven't heard the name Jesus Lizard in a long, long time. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't think they really play anymore. But David Yao was quite a character. I saw them live once. My brother saw them live even earlier. They were, I think it was John Spencer Blues Explosion opening up for them. It might have actually been the early 90s that he saw them. He was underage and got into a club and saw them play. And he said it was one of the best shows he's ever seen. And I totally believe it. David Yao has a bit of a loves his drinks, let's just say that. And kind of loves just kind of careening around the stage and jumping into the crowd and, you know, just putting on a show. It's quite a spectacle. When I saw them, it was kind of near the end of their time as a band. It was still a really good show. David Yao jumping into the crowd surfing and stuff like that, but it wasn't maybe as amazing as it was back in their early days. It was still really great to at least have seen them once. I've still got the tickets somewhere. Solid band. Anyway, it only seems appropriate to play them for the small package of comics I got today in the mail. At first, I was very confused as to where these came from. Yeah, Explosion was a hell of a band there, Blackpool. I loved them for quite a while. And then, what was their band before that? Pussy Galore, is that what they were called before that? I think I might have a Pussy Galore 7-inch somewhere. So it took me a while to figure out where the hell these came from. I didn't recognize the name. I wasn't expecting anything. These were actually really cheap eBay scores. And when I say cheap, I mean kind of under most of them were under $4 Canadian an issue. And to get the whole package to me of how many books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. It was $4.70 Canadian. They came from Ontario, which helped. I knew what kind of condition they were in before I got them, which wasn't, according to the description and some of the photos, apparently not that good a condition. But I'm telling you, I bought a couple of doubles because the issues that I do have are in worse condition than these. And I'm embarrassed to say that I may have paid like $1 or $2 more for those ones than I did these. A really, really good deal. Unfortunately, he didn't have too many. What happened was I won one of them a couple of weeks ago. He said, hold on, I have some more that I'm going to be putting up at the end of the week. If you want to combine shipping, maybe wait to see what else I have. And he put up another, I don't know, 8 books, I think. A couple of them I let go because they started getting into kind of prices that I just didn't want to pay for them. I think one was called Captain Guts that got away from me, and there might have been another Skull Comics that got away from me as well. But really, really glad that I scored the ones that I did. One of my favorites. So I waited. He posted them. I bid. It still went a week. But I did manage to walk away with 6 books. I always think it's 7, but it is actually 6. So we'll look at the ones that I already have, that I have doubles of.
Yellow Dog issue number 24. I've got one of these already, but the one that I have is pretty rough. This one is beautiful. There's you won't be able to make it out, but right in there, oh, maybe you can. Right in there is the tiniest of kind of holes in it. But the issue that I have of this one is in really rough shape. So it's great to have this one. I was thinking of actually putting one of these in a frame, so I may hold on to the other one. Amazing stuff. I mean, you know, as I've said a million times before, I've really hit the underground comics this year. Put a big dent in my collection as far as what I've managed to score. So that's a really nice one. Another one that I have already, although I didn't look into how many printings of this there was. I think there was only one printing of this. Yeah, I don't remember. There may have only been one printing of this one, but this is Skull issue number 5 with a fantastic Spain Rodriguez cover that I just really love. It's a really good series. Skull is a great series. If you don't, if you ever see these in the wild there, I'd say go and grab them. This one is fantastic. Just a look at the Dave Sheridan back cover, which I really love as well. So yeah, like I said, doubles of this one, but I think I haven't pulled out the previous issue, but I think this is in much better condition than the one I currently have as well. And it's funny, like the Undergrounds, when it comes to kind of mainstream comics, I don't really like some Corbin here. I don't really like buying doubles, but when it comes to Undergrounds, I can have doubles and triples and even quadruples of these, and I wouldn't mind one bit because they're so fantastic. And here we go, a Spain Rodriguez story here. Look at that page. Really great stuff. Look at that page. His art, I don't know, man. Spain has really grown on me. Really bold. I love the bold lines. I love the look of his pages. His art is really something special, or was something special. He's since passed now, but who else do we got in here? I don't actually recognize this artist here. See if I see a name at the end here. It almost looks like Coleman, but it's not. I don't know who this last story is. Can't say I recognize the art. Anyway, so Skull issue number 5. And another one that's in pretty decent shape is Saloon. I think it was just a one-off series. Dave Geiser, the print mint, and then kind of advertises. So this is 1973, and the whole book is him. It's not my old go-to website, Comics Joint, doesn't rate this book incredibly high, but I really like his style. I love his art style quite a bit. And again, the one that I have is in pretty rough shape comparatively. This one, again, I think most of these were like $3.88 is what I ended up paying Canadian each, which is a really good deal, plus that shipping. So it comes out to kind of just over $4 a pop, which is pretty fucking great. Here's a look at those. Abject Kid, hello. You like what you heard of Jesus Lizard? I'd highly recommend checking them out. If you do pick up something, there's an album they have called Show, and it's a live performance. It's just a great album. I've had it on CD forever. Goat is another really good one. Head and Liar, and they just did a lot of really especially the early stuff. The later stuff before they broke up was still good, but the early stuff is really where it's at. I'd say start with Show, though, just to get a nice taste of what they're like live. Very excited about books coming out tomorrow. Same with books. What are you guys getting? Is there anything exciting coming out tomorrow? I don't think I'm gonna make it tomorrow. I might try at lunch, where I'm working kind of in the area where my comic book shop is, and I want to pick up some things for my son. They've got some discounts on, they got some sales on some graphic novels and hardcovers upstairs at Galaxy. So I might try to hit them up at lunchtime to pick up some of those and maybe pick up my new issues while I'm there. One that I think I've seen on Big Shot Comics YouTube page is Truckin'. I think this was was it just a 2-issue series? I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. But this one looks really cool. I had to flip through this one. This summer I went to Canada, and there I experienced autumn. Nature unfolds her love in cycles, and cycles within cycles. Really, really hardcore hippie stuff, but so fantastic. Visiting the wilds of Canada, building their own houses. I don't know if these are more autobiographical comics. I have a feeling that they are. I haven't read much about it yet. The one good thing about that Comics Joint page is that they do a really good job of giving you the history of the artists and of the books themselves. So I'm assuming that these are based on real stories. But really cool stuff. Again, I mean, I've said it before, but part of what I love about these undergrounds and comics in general of this kind of style, you really can feel the hand of the artist. You know, it's really a little bit of a time capsule, especially something like this that's 1972. Very, very cool stuff. Really like this one. There's the back cover there. Like that one quite a bit. So that's one that I don't own. These last few are ones that I don't own already. The Adventures of the Little Green Dinosaur, issue number 1. This was only 2 issues. Last gasp. And something that I love about some of these that they didn't do that often. I love the little back page advertisement and seeing what comics were out, what undergrounds were out at the time when this issue came out, and how much they were. I think it says here at the bottom, comics, unless otherwise, are 65 cents each. Prices include postage and handling, adults only. Law requires you to include a statement of age. Order from Last Gasp, P.O. Box 212, Berkeley, California, 94704. There's even an advertisement here for the official Dealer McDope dealing game for $7 whole. I have it on Board Game Geek. You can kind of add games to your wish list. This is high on my wish list. There have been 1 or 2 games that have popped up. The official Dealer McDope game has popped up a couple of times, but it's usually been out of my price range. That is something that may go on a list for next year, something I might kind of try to hunt down. And another thing that catches my eye here is the Children's Liberation coloring book for $2, which I don't know about. I haven't heard that title before. I haven't seen that advertised in any of the other undergrounds. I may do a little search for that to see what that's about. But here you can see Skull Comics number 1, 2, and 3, Slow Death. 1, 2, and 3, Choices, Dope and Dan, Taurus in the Hair, Fantagore, Merton of the Movement, Laugh in the Dark, Legion of Charlies, It Ain't Me, Babe, Mr. Natural, and Dirty Duck. So this one looks pretty fun. It's a lot more cartoony than the other ones, but there is still the usual sex, drugs, and rock and roll, as there is with most of these undergrounds. So that looks pretty good. 1 story throughout the whole book. There you go.
And last but certainly not least, let's wait 1 second here. Seems like all my favorite books are coming out. Mayday, Motor Girl, Angel City, Birds of Prey, No Mercy. Holy crap. So is it, I'm guessing it's a big week then, Abject Kid. Yeah, I haven't really looked. I've been good lately looking at what comes out week to week, but I haven't actually checked the website for a while. So finally, last but not least, Trina Robbins, Girl Fight Comics, and this one is the hit of the bunch for me. This one is in pretty rough shape, but again, considering what I paid for it, that's completely fine by me. Check out that back fucking cover. That's unreal. Fox. Member UCWA Woman Power Division, and with a little fist in the center of the O there. I mean, just have a look at this first page. This first page sets the tone so nicely for the rest of the book. Unfortunately, one of the things that I don't remember him saying in the listing itself was this damage up here at the top that goes through kind of a third of the book. Actually, maybe a quarter of the book. Yeah, it's kind of a rip that goes through a quarter of the book. But this first page says it all. She wakes up and talks to her man, who then tries to shut her down and says, "You speak when you're spoken to." She stabs him and takes off. Unbelievable. When we go to the second page, we're met with a woman's army, which is just fucking killer. Trina Robbins is another of these underground creators that has really, really grown on me over this year. That's also been kind of part of the fun of collecting these undergrounds this year. I've discovered some artists that I've known about in the past, but they've really resonated with me differently now than they did back then. People that I would have overlooked. And this book is all Trina Robbins throughout the whole thing. And it's really great. I read about half of this afternoon because as soon as I opened it and saw that first page, I was hooked. So as I was kind of preparing my lunch, I was leafing through this one. Incredible shit. Really, really great style. Almost in Spain, Rodriguez kind of style is in heavier black lines, but has this kind of classic comic style to her work. So this is a really cool score out of this whole stack. Amazon's Dykes and Male Sex Objects. It's hard to read that backwards. Starring Fox and Speed Queen. So highly recommend this one. If you see it, really, really grab it. I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for a higher grade copy of this one for sure, because this is too good to have in this condition. I want one that's even more pristine than this. There you go. There's your dose of sex for the evening right there. Dose of dirty comics on the Comic Crack channel. There you go. So yeah, really happy with all of these. I think for the most part, represented the books really, really well. I knew what I was getting, which is why the price was so right. And it seems like lately when I've just been kind of browsing, I usually just bookmark a lot of stuff on eBay. And there's been a lot of really decent prices coming up lately for a lot of these undergrounds. If you just search Underground Comics CS or Underground Comics with an IX, or just comics, COMIX in general, there's quite a few books on there these days. And I mean, they do range, but it seems like lately, this past week or so, there's been a lot of stuff that's really affordable. Again, they're mostly not a lot of them are buy it now prices. They're always like a bid, but because there's not a lot of people, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people bidding on these. I mean, the bidding war that I did have on a couple of them, which was not much of a war because I backed out pretty much instantaneously. That's a pretty rare thing. When I've been buying comics on eBay, they mostly go unchallenged, so I get them for the price that I've just bid on. This Girl Fight Comics is 1972 as well. They're Abject Kid. Published by the Print Mint, 830 Folger, Berkeley, California. And again, I think this was only a one-off issue. But yeah, so early 70s. Love it. Really love it. Her coloring is quite a bit different on the front here as well than some of the other, like the women's comic stuff that I have. Yeah, so these will get added to the collection of undergrounds. Yeah, very cool score. I'm following a bunch of books right now on eBay. And I've been kind of leafing through my Underground Comics price guide and bookmarking a few things that I want to eventually get. It's going to be one of the things that gets added onto this top 10 list for 2017. It just feels like I've rediscovered a really deep love for this kind of thing. And the more the collection grows, the happier I am. I mean, every time I get some of these in the mail or find them at the local shops or the local conventions, it's just a really good feeling that I get from them. I just love, out of all the books that I have, these ones hold a real special place, which is also why I don't mind getting multiple copies of them. It's nice to have some other copies, some a little more pristine than others. So that's it. As I say, there's a lot that I'm keeping my eyes on right now on eBay, and maybe early next year we'll have another mini haul of undergrounds coming through the door. We'll see, though. I want to kind of streamline the collection a little bit. There's a few titles that I have on my radar I'd really like to hunt for. But yeah, these were really, really nice. And it's also rare, especially up in Canada here. It's pretty rare that I find people that are selling them in Canada. Most of the sellers that I'm coming across are from the States. A guy that I was looking at today, he's got a lot up for auction right now. He's from Washington, which isn't so bad. But it's a pretty rare thing to get some Canadian sellers. And as much as I like the guy from Montreal and have loved dealing with him, I've been having some really good luck as far as getting these undergrounds for a really decent price. Off of eBay or from guys like Ferd at the local convention. So I'm hoping that that keeps up. We have another mini convention coming up January 29th. I'm hoping to get in touch with Ferd before that and asking him to bring like a good box worth of comics of undergrounds to the convention so I can kind of try to strike a deal with him and maybe buy a bulk lot. Hey, GPAP, how the hell is it going? So yeah, I mean, I was going through them the other day, and it turns out I didn't realize I had them kind of spread out by publisher. I decided, screw that. I'm going to put them all alphabetically, my undergrounds. I've got about 3 short boxes filled with undergrounds now, which is quite a chunk. And when I say 3 boxes, or probably 2.5 boxes, when I say 2.5 boxes, we're talking books that are specifically from kind of the late 60s and early 70s. I also have another kind of short box filled with things like Hate from Peter Bagg and Jim Woodring stuff, and more kind of modern, and Daniel Clowes and Charles Burns and that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't classify those as undergrounds. For me, the undergrounds are kind of 1969 to the early 70s. The collection of those books has just exploded in my collection this past year. At some point later in the year, maybe it'll be interesting to see if everybody does a kind of rundown of their top 10 for 2016 lists. I'm surprised at how much of a dent I've put in this list as far as, I mean, Underground, this got Number 9 got scratched off the list months and months and months ago because I felt like I really did it justice. Treehouse of Horror, this one is getting scratched off. I just haven't yet, thanks to Rez. Yeah, I'm curious to see a bunch of people's lists to see what they've managed to scratch off. Dr. Atomic, yes, I do have some Dr. Atomic as well there, GPAP. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm really looking forward to January's convention. A lot of books to sell. I think I'm hoping with the amount of books that I do have, especially things like Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil, I'm hoping that they go pretty quick. The collections that I've bought, and then my brother's collection that I'm trying to sell for him, I think that's what's going to make up the meat of my table this year, or next year rather. And I'm hoping that they kind of get out of the house quicker, sooner than later. I don't know if I'll bring any of the books that I've been hawking the past few times at the convention. I think I might try to pick up, I think I might try to just bring stuff that people haven't seen on my table yet, in hopes of attracting some new attention. GPAP is saying, I actually picked up something you might enjoy. Got me a copy of Arsenic Lullaby #1. Amazing stuff. Arsenic Lullaby. That sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know what the hell that is. What is it there, GPAP? When is that from? I don't have my phone. Oh, I do have my phone here. Arsenic Lullaby. Let's take a moment here and do a search for it. Oh, is that this one here, GPAP? Is that this? Maybe it'll come up there. Almost looks like Matt Howarth type of art there. Yeah. Looks interesting. I can't say I've seen that before. And again, I mean, that's been one of the joys of digging into these undergrounds and these indie books and stuff, and digging through the bins, getting into some territory that you just really don't see often, right? So it's pretty great. Let's have a look here. Which one did I get? Skull #5. So just to show you, while we're doing this, actually, I'm too lazy to do a screen share. Hopefully that kind of focuses on that. That's not really doing it. It's just too bright. Anyway, that's not really doing it. Comix Joint, so comixjoint.com. Highly recommend checking it out. When you get to the page, you'll hit archives, and then you go to underground comics, and then it kind of goes alphabetically, and you can search for a lot of titles. Highly recommended if you're interested in reading about some of the history of some of these books and some of these artists. The way they have it laid out is really incredible. He does kind of his own kind of grading system as far as like how good he feels the art is, how good is the writing, what's its historical significance, if any, and then kind of an overall grade and his enjoyment of it. But he does really good at giving the history of the individual books, how many copies were printed, how many editions were printed, how many printings were there, period, all that kind of stuff. Really just a fountain of knowledge, that website. It's really incredible stuff. So if you are interested in underground comics, I'd say go check out Comix Joint. But I think that's about it. GPAP is saying, yes, sir, very dark humor. That sounds even better. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that one. Thank you very much for joining me, the 5 viewers. And let's go out on some Jesus Lizard here. Let's go back to the beginning of this side. I think it's Then Comes Dudley. No, sorry, this is Mouth Breather. Don't get me wrong, he's a nice guy. I like him just fine. But he's a mouth breather. Right on, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later.